Hello, everyone, and welcome to Knitting Traditions Podcast episode something, getting close to 30. Um, so, trying to record an episode outside today just to have a little bit better lighting. It's Monday morning, and the fog has just lifted. It looks like it's gonna be a nice day. I just got home from a shift, so I'm looking forward to enjoying the day. There's dewdrops on the ground. It's 6 Celsius degrees, so I put on some thicker, warmer wool for you guys just to stay nice and snuggly. And let's just hope there's not too many interruptions outside because the editing part of the episodes is not very fun, but I'll do my best for you. So what I'm wearing, this is the Tegna. If I am remembering wrong because my head is a bit foggy as well, I will put the name here. I also put all the information about what I talk about in the description box below. There's like a little thing over here, probably, or here, where you can find everything that I talk about. I'm also active on Instagram as Knitting Traditions. If you have any questions directed directly to me, it's a lot easier for me to reply on there than here. But I read all the comments below, and I'm just honored to be a part of this society. So this sweater is a top-down construction, and I used Norwegian wool for this. I used the rauma finull, and I don't remember the colorways, but this is like a heathered light gray, almost white. It's like a mix of white and gray fibers. It looks almost undyed. That the heatheredness is gray fiber spun in with white wool fiber. It's 100% wool yarn, one of my favorite ones. It's great for color work. I do know you can get it in the States as well if that's where you live, because Rauma does ship out internationally to resellers, restock to other stores. And this is a very dark, mossy green kind of colorway. It's more green than it appears in the lighting, and this is like a mustardy goldy brown color. And I think in the pattern you're supposed to split for the sleeves down here. However, I'm not a fan of the whole batwing construction. It's very cozy, but it's not very practical for me. I have to layer usually, and it's a problem to put on jackets if you have a sweater that kind of stops here, because then there's a lot of fabric and everything kind of lifts up to put the jacket on. So what I did is I split for the sleeves before these crosses. And I'm really happy with that modification. I also just think that sweaters that don't have bat sleeves, I like the shape of them a lot more. I don't know if this was an alteration, but I did not do any decreases on the sleeve, and I did a long ribbing at the end, around 10 centimeters ribbing, and also for the hem of the sweater, I did the same, 10 centimeters of 1 by 1 ribbing. I think that is modification, but I'm not sure, but I really like the look of that. It's very cozy. The long rib is a feminine look to me, and I just like the way it hangs on the arms. So I'm really happy with this design. I think it's a really beautiful colorwork sweater, and with the modifications of the arms, it's quite practical as well. And yeah, the wool, since it's 100% wool, this finull yarn, it's a very forgiving yarn, more forgiving than superwash yarns are, because in superwash yarns everything is a bit more slippery, so if there is any unevenness, it's a lot more visible. But with this, it's more toothy, so everything kind of sticks to each other, and that makes a very even color work, I think. I don't know if I have any floats to show. So here are the floats on the back for those who like to see. And yeah, I don't know what happened here. I think I was probably weaving in some ends. All right. So that was what I'm wearing. Since the last time, I have finished an object. But before getting into that, I'm gonna grab a beverage. Because it is quite cool outside, so I did bring some tea that I want to drink before it gets ice cold. And I'm drinking from this cute little handmade ceramic mug or cup that I bought when I was living in Poland. It was made on the street that I used to live on in the Jakke area. And it's a nice little memory from the time there. And hopefully soon in the future I can go back and maybe get some more. It's a red tea with lots of berries and flavor. Alright, so let's get into a finished object. So this is not been blocked yet, but it's been worn a lot already. This is the Sara sweater by Lenny, I think Lenny Hoy is her name. It's a beautiful top-down raglan with a twisted rib neck that you can either wear this way or as a, let's see if I can fold it for you, as a folded down turtleneck. I wear it this way because I think I should have gone up a size, because when I wear this, it kind of pulls on the neck here, and it looks beautiful, but then when I fold the neck down, it kind of doesn't cover all of this. I kind of have to pull it to perfectly cover it. I could sew it down, but I really like it all the way up on my neck. It feels really nice and snuggly. And it has sleeves with a long rib, and there is a split rib on the body, and it has pockets on the front with this really nice design. I did a modification here. The pocket was supposed to be knitted all the way down to the edging, but I was a bit worried because I like to put things in my pockets that it would show, that it would kind of be heavier than the fabric and show underneath the edge. But I, after putting it on and wearing it, because of the way the pockets are made, I don't think that would have actually happened. So if I make it again, I will follow it exactly as to pattern to get even bigger pockets. But it's perfect for putting like keys in or smaller things. I have had my phone in here as well, but I have a bigger iPhone, so it's easier for it to fall out. I'm really happy with how this sweater turned out. It is so soft, so squishy, very next to skin soft. So I was thinking in the future I could do like an episode where I showcase all my squishy soft sweaters that are next to skin soft and talk about them, and then I can do another one with my rustic garments that are more scratchy and talk about them. If that's something of interest, instead of one here and one there, I could do like some special episodes. But this is definitely next to skin soft, and it's really warm, even though the content is about a third cotton, pima cotton. It's also merino and baby alpaca. And I've been wearing it a lot because it is that warmth, but also the really soft and snuggly feeling. So I haven't had the time to wash and block it because I've been wearing it so much. And this is the yarn that I used for it. This is the fluff sock base from Zakami yarns, which are based in Cumbria in the UK. And this yarn was gifted from them. I was gifted 3 skeins of this colorway and then some yarns to give to you in a giveaway. And I just think this colorway is so beautiful. It's called Boomy, which means earth. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it is this nice pale green with flecks of darker green, like a mossy. And my favorite flecks are the rust flecks. They just made me so happy whenever I got one of those little rust flecks. I just, beautiful. So yes, this flew off the needles. It was a joy to knit on. And I had 3 skeins and I've used up 2 skeins plus 40 grams because they come in 100-gram skeins. So I have 60 grams left, which means 2.5 skeins was enough for this turtleneck, somewhat long body. So probably 2 skeins I could get a cropped sweater from. Definitely a t-shirt, but also I think a cropped sweater. I could do a three-quarter sleeve and make a longer sweater, probably. Yes. So that is my Sara sweater. Highly recommend the pattern. It's beautiful and I love it. Oh, and yeah, I wanted to talk about how I decided to kind of alternate skeins. Because when you do buy hand-dyed yarns, there is always going to be a small discrepancy between skeins just because that's the nature of it. It's not a machine dyed in a big batch where everything is completely the same color. So I used one skein for the neck and the upper part of the body. Then I didn't alternate skeins for the sleeves. So you can see that where I started the sleeves, there is a bit more darker spots in that yarn, that skein, but I think it looks nice. For the body, I did alternate here every second row using helical knitting, which is you knit until there is 3 stitches left on the round, and then you attach the new yarn and start knitting, and then you knit until 3 stitches before you attach it, and you just slip those 3, and then you get to that yarn that was used in the previous yarn that's just hanging there, and you keep knitting with that one. And then you just repeat that. So every row you get to 3 stitches before where you were, if that makes sense. Helical knitting in the round, there are videos on YouTube, but I think that's a really nice way of doing it when you're knitting in the round because there is no carrying of the yarn in the back and it looks, well, invisible. As long as you don't tighten your stitches too much, because then you might get kind of a line of tighter stitches going diagonally, so don't do that. I've learned that the hard way. So yes, maybe I'll make a pair of shorty socks with the rest, because they do call it their fluff socks. So probably the cotton content in this makes it strong enough for socks. It would be really nice and lovely. I think some of my favorite socks are the ones that I've made with mohair content because that fluff is just very cozy for indoor socks. So I'll think about it. Maybe socks or maybe color work. We shall see. And then I've put some progress into my half and half triangles wrap. So this is a forever project that will probably be returning to the podcast for several episodes. It is very comforting to knit on, and I pick this up when I need a break from more knitting that uses up more brain capacity, because this is very simple, but it's also very addicting. So when I'm knitting on it, I kind of just want to knit on this, but I'm in no rush to finish it. But I have finished the first skein of the juniper green since last time, and I actually put a stitch marker on here to show you my progress because I realized this is a huge shawl and you can't really see that I made progress in between the episodes. But let's see. Do you see that little silver hand down there? So I've knitted everything above this since last time. which is quite a lot of knitting because for every row now, the rows are getting longer. And I put stitch markers every 26 stitches, and that made like 10 segments between stitch markers for the whole length of the triangle. And I have now 1, 2, almost 3 segments left, so I have knitted more than 70% of the second triangle. So it's not that much left, but again, the triangles are getting longer and longer. And like I talked about in the previous episode, I am keeping it in my lovely bag from Sage Valley Handmade. And I love it. So this was a gifted bag, just to be clear about that. And then in the last episode, I talked about this other sweater that I was knitting on in between the Sarah sweater. And that was the Weekender Light. And believe it or not, I have made a lot of progress on this, but I had to rip back. So let's see. I'm probably dropping lots of stitches now. Yes, I am. The perks of knitting with rustic yarn is that when you drop stitches, they don't really tend to go anywhere unless you're very rough with it. Because of that toothiness, everything just sticks together. Not great for ripping out always, but great for when you tend to drop things. So this is my Weekender Light. I think I am almost at the point of where the pattern tells you to start the arms because it's knit bottom up. I haven't actually read through the pattern yet. It's a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and I'm knitting it with the knit fabric out to do knit stitches, but it's supposed to be worn inside out, so you have this detail going in the front and the back. And this is also a split hem look. I talked about in the last episode how I made some alterations. I made the split hem longer. I'm using a different yarn. I'm using a different gauge and a different size in order to compensate for that different gauge, which is what I often do if I can't get the gauge of the sweater. Let's say I'm too tight, then I'll go down a size or two. Have to do a little bit of math, and how I do the math, I don't know if this is correct or wrong, but I take, if I knit too loose, let's say my gauge is 21 and it's supposed to be 26, then I take 26 and divide it by 21, and then I multiply the circumference of a smaller size with that number that I got, and I see if I get a circumference that would fit me, and if I do that, then I will use that size with my gauge to get a correct size for me, or I can multiply that number with an even smaller size and see if that's even better. And yeah, you can do the opposite with my gauge being bigger. More stitches? Don't listen to me. Alright. You can probably find nice equations online. That's just simple calculation that I do that makes sense to me. And I think last time I had gotten probably like here when I talked to you guys, or maybe here. And then I started the second skein because I have 4 skeins of this. This is the Wild in the Woods. Why can't I remember? It's Wild in the Woods, and I think the base is Folklore, and the color is Roots. And my friend Brittany from Crooks Fibers, she has made her Wool and Honey in this exact colorway. However, hers look more mustardy, goldeny orange, while mine looks more red rust. So I think there's the difference between the batches, both stunningly beautiful. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. But I realized after knitting probably like this much of the second skein that there was quite a visible color change between the two skeins, which I didn't see when I held them up against each other. But I decided that, you know what, this is such an enjoyable knit that I would do what I don't actually normally do, and I would rip back. So I ripped back and I did the helical knitting of alternating skeins, and I think that made the color more uniform, if that makes sense. Everything's blowing out. But yeah. So I did that and I've knit up, and the reason that I put this down and knit on other things is just because I am not sure if I want to follow the weekender light pattern for the upper part for this yarn. I really want to knit it as instructed in the pattern, but then that it has like a straight neck up here, so it's pretty close on the front of the neck. And this is a very rustic, scratchy yarn, and this is the area on my body which is the most sensitive. So I kind of want this to be that warm sweater to throw on when I'm skiing or in the mountain and it's chilly, that I can put on as a layering piece. And I think I will use it a lot more if it's a rounded crew neck than if it's higher up on the front of my neck. That's what I think, because then I can have other things underneath and it's not going to be next to skin, and I think I would wear it a lot more that way. But I'm not really sure how to convert it. Maybe I would have to do a raglan instead and figure out those raglan decreases and the crew neck. So I'm gonna have to have a look and see if I maybe I have some other bottom up raglan construction sweater patterns with this gauge, and then I can use that as an inspiration, or maybe I'll just freestyle it and see. I have freestyle sweaters before. And then do the weekender light again in a softer yarn, because I really do like the shoulder construction look with the ribbing that Andrea Mowry has in this pattern. So we shall see what happens. And I'm on my second skein, so I have 2 left. Should be fine. I think I want to make the body longer than the weekender light pattern instructs, just because I am tall and I like to make things longer. I either want it to be cropped or I want it to be this warm, snuggly layering piece, and then I want it to be a bit longer. So we shall see what happens. And then I have put in a bit of work on my Hera socks by Sara from Day to Day Knits podcast. And last time I had finished the heel, and now I have also finished the lace chart for the front of the foot, and I'm working on the foot itself, which only has a little bit of lace on the sides running down, and the kind of stilk, is that a word? That runs from the leaves and all the way down. So yes, this really doesn't have a lot of knitting left. It's just that it's on 2mm needles, and I want to knit all the garments, but I'm really excited to have these done. They make really cute socks, and they are knit in rauma 2-tråds camilla serie, which is it is a yarn used for socks, but it has no nylon content. It's 100% 2-plied wool. So I'm interested to see how it wears. It's not going to be worn in boots, it's going to be indoor socks. I'm most curious about the heels. If these turn out to wear, if it turns out that these will get holes quickly, then if I use it again, I'll probably use a silk mohair or nylon thread just for the heels and toes. And that should be good to kind of reinforce it a bit. And then I have more projects. So since last time, I started a sweater that I have been wanting to cast on for years. But first, tea. So if you saw 2 episodes ago, I had bought a lot of yarn from Spincycle, which I have been eyeing forever. And I have casted on the shifty sweater. And I was supposed to put this on a larger circumference needle before showing you, but I forgot. So next time, uh, I have made some alterations, color-wise, so and gauge-wise, because I could not get as tight of a gauge as Andrea Mowry's. I am using the same yarn as her. The colors that I am using is the Deep Bump. No, Grumpy Birds. I am using Grumpy Birds. That is the main color. And then all these little blips are knit in this colorway, which is the Nocturne base. It's the new Spincycle base, which is dyed on a gray base. And this is Nocturne Brown Sugar, but it really is a muddy green throughout. It does not have as much color changes as the dyed in the wool. But I'm kind of liking the look of that I have a color changing background, but then I have that somewhat stable blip going throughout to tie it all together. So I think that I'm supposed to have changed the blip color now because it's supposed to have like 3 contrasting colors. But I kind of just want to continue using this throughout the whole sweater to kind of tie it all together with even with the background changing. And I have this much left of the first skein, and I have, let's see, I think I brought it, and I have one more. I'm supposed to have 3 skeins to do this sweater, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how much I can get done with 2 skeins, and then either make it more cropped, or I've heard that Ravelry has this function where people can sell yarn from their stash or scraps. So I might go in and see if anyone has half a skein left or something of this after one of their projects, and see if I can get my hands on that. If not, I'll just order a whole skein, but I don't think I'll need a whole skein. We shall see. But yes, I was talking about the gauge. So because my gauge was a lot bigger, wider, I think it's supposed to be 30.5, and I got 26, 28, depending on the needle size. So what I did is I did that calculation. I divided 30 over 28, and then I multiplied that with the circumference of size 2, and that gave me the perfect circumference for my bust size, I think. We shall see. It is quite an uneven yarn, especially the dyed in the wool. The Nocturne seems to be more even, at least the skein that I'm using right now. And also I'm relaxing more and more, so it might get even bigger. Who knows? But I'm excited to see how it fits and how the increases look, because there are 4 sections of increases. I am using size 2 now, which is the same as in the sample, but mine will be bigger because of my bigger or looser gauge. And I've heard that the other sizes don't have an even increase around, but size 2 does, so I didn't have to think about that. So yeah, I'm interested to see. I probably should also measure my row gauge to see if it's completely off. Maybe I need to split the sleeves sooner, or maybe I need to split them later. So I'm going to put them onto larger needles and check that. I did cut the yarn after doing the neck here, just because I really wanted to have the orange coming quite early in the sweater, because the orange is my favorite part of the Grumpy Birds color. So I did that just to have more, to start the orange right after, and I think it looks kind of nice with that stark change after the ribbing. I was contemplating actually doing a double rib, so make it twice as long and knit it down, but I didn't have to. I thought it was lying pretty nicely, because if I would have done it double, it would have been even tighter on the neck. So I was happy with the width of the neck and how it lies inwards. Sometimes a simple neck can be kind of floppy, but not here. Probably also owing to the fact that I did it in 2.25mm needles. And I'm also using 275 for the body instead of 3.5 as in the pattern. So I'm using quite smaller needles, and it's still bigger. But I am loving how this is turning out. It is extremely addictive, and I just want to get my favorite section is this orange right here, and I really hope that I find a similar orange in one of the other balls again, because it's just beautiful. So I'm really excited about the sweater, and I'm hoping it will lie nicely once it's done, and that the size will be good. It's definitely a lot of fun to knit, and a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. I've never done this kind of mosaic before, but it's all just knit, purl, and slip. If you know how to do that and you know how to do increases, you can make this sweater. Andrea Maury's patterns are great, clear, and I highly recommend. Yes. So, and now I dropped stitches. This yarn is not sticky the way that the other sweater is, so I have to be careful when I drop stitches to get them back on. So that's that. And I cast on another thing. I need to wear a blanket because it's cold. Cheers. So I cast on another project. I went to the cafe in town with my cousin and our friend, and she wanted to go shopping afterwards. She wanted to go to the yarn store. I try to not go shopping and going to the yarn store because I have some hoarding tendencies and I have difficulties leaving things behind if I like it. So of course, when I went to the yarn store with no intention of buying anything, I bought something. There was this cardigan sample in the store. It's like a super squishy, fluffy, simple cardigan, and it was a free pattern. I think it was Sunstone, maybe, by Camilla Pihl, who is a designer that collaborates with Vikingarn, and they have free patterns in Norwegian. That's simple, so if you're friends with Google Translate, you could give it a go. And I have been eyeing this yarn by Camilla Pihl in collaboration with Vikingarn for a long time. It's beautiful and so soft. However, expensive if you want to make a garment, because it's a thicker yarn. You need more balls than if you use fingering weight, because if you use fingering weight, you can usually get around to make a sweater in my size with 2-3 skeins. With the thicker yarns, probably I'll need 7 or 8 or even more. But they had this free magazine in the store, which is, oh, it's not Vikingarn, I'm so sorry. It's House of Yarn, and Camilla Pihl, this lady, she works with them. I've never knitted anything by her before, but then I saw this in the magazine, And this is a free pattern. Everything in here was free patterns. And this right here uses up, in my size, 12 skeins. So 12 skeins or balls of yarn for a garment instead of 3. So you can kind of imagine how that is a bit more expensive. But it was so soft. And I just couldn't resist. So I cast on. And I am using slightly different colors. I'm just using an extra color in it. So this mossy green right here and here is not actually in this pattern, but I am a big fan of the autumnals, so I threw that in there. And this is so soft, you guys. It's so soft. Can you like just see the squish in this? It is some of the softest, or probably the softest garment that I will own. And this is knit with the yarn held double. So this is the yarn. It's Camilla Pihl's fnugg yarn. And it's 100% brushed alpaca. And it's 80 meters per skein. And I'm holding it double. It's supposed to be knit on 15mm needles. And I have one pair of 15mm needles, some like plastic ones that I bought in Turkey years ago, and they're very uncomfortable to knit with. So I tried to see if I couldn't get gauge with 12mm needles, just making sure that I'm not knitting very tightly. And I mean, come on, 12mm needles, it's plenty big enough. It's plenty big. So yeah, I got gauge, but I don't think I've gotten row gauge because I was supposed to have probably split for the sleeves here, and no way, it's too short. Because I have that extra color, I'm just adding it to the stripes to make it longer, and I should still have enough yarn to finish it. And I knit all of this in 2 hours, 3 hours. It's super fast. You knit it back and forth to front and back, so you have to purl. But again, it's 12mm needles, so it's super fast. It's like 77 stitches for this whole thing, and I'm making the medium large because I want this to be a big snuggly cardigan to kind of just throw over my other clothes now that we're going into colder times. And this will be nice to have all year around. I'm really enjoying just holding this. So, and it's so fast. So this is a nice palette cleanser, if you may say so. It's not a sock or a hat or some small accessory, which are usually talked about as palette cleansers, but it is super fast. So yeah, really enjoying it. Alright, so that is all that I have been knitting on for this past week and a half. I have some acquisitions to show if you're interested in that. Some gifted and some bought. So if that's not your cup of tea, then I will see you next time. I hope you have a wonderful day and rest of week. And if you do like acquisitions, then stay tuned. So, my Sara sweater was knit in zakami yarns, and I have never knit with that kind of yarn combination before. The alpaca, merino, and cotton. And they have beautiful colorways, so I just couldn't resist buying some more yarn from them. So I follow them on Instagram, and I saw that they were making bouquets. So look at this. They were selling these dried flower bouquets with 5 mini skeins of yarns. And I just couldn't resist. I live in a basement apartment that doesn't have a lot of light, so because the windows are on the side where the sun basically isn't. So dried flowers is very nice because I can keep them in the areas of the apartment where normal flowers wouldn't survive. And this one has yarn in it. So probably this will remain a decoration for a very long time because I think the mini skeins adds to it. I don't want to knit with them because they're so pretty. And I am keeping it in a old jam jar with a crocheted cover that I made a few years ago, just because I didn't have a vase that did it justice. And I figured that, this is a handmade kind of look to it, so I thought it was cute. So I'm keeping this on a shelf between the kitchen and living room for some nice decoration. And, I saw this and then, I went through their web store and I saw other yarns that I wanted. And this is actually a new colorway that they had. I think it's called Azeria. I'm wondering if that means fox because they keep putting fox emojis next to the colorway. Almost fell down. So I had a look and they had the Azeria in several bases and the bases made the color look different. So I saw this and this is their merino silk and yak base, a sock / fingering weight. And because it has a silk content, I think I could use this for socks. So I bought one skein of this and it's so soft. That I think owes a lot to the yak. Yak is a very soft luxury fiber. So I'm really happy with this and I just need to get my sock mojo back. It could also be a really nice colorway to put into a shawl if I decide to knit more shawls. We shall see, but it matches my lipstick. Yeah, Azeria, that was the colorway. And this is actually 120 grams and 480 meters, so it's quite the generous skein. And when I was looking at their sock bases, I saw this other color, which it's not very typical me, but it was just so beautiful. So this is their Lulu color. And, I'm not a very blue person, but the specks, it's stunning. These rust brown specks on blue, it just reminded me of diving in like Mexico and those any place that has those blue clear waters and the coral reefs. And yeah, I just thought this was beautiful. And for socks, I can go a bit out of my comfort zone with colors because it's not next to my face. So even though I probably wouldn't make a shawl or scarf or anything or hat in this colorway for me, I would definitely make socks in this. So this is merino baby alpaca and silk. This is 115 grams and 460 meters. So this one has the yak and silk, and this one has the alpaca and silk. So it's two different sock bases, but both of them has silk content, so I think I can use them for socks. And stunning colorways. And I was on a roll, so I figured since I was already opening up my wallet, I'd buy some more. So they had sent me their Surrey alpaca silk base to give in a giveaway, but I also really wanted to try it, so I saw that they had dyed up this yarn weight in the new colorway Azeria. So I bought 6 skeins of this because I'm thinking of making either a sweater or a cardigan with this yarn held double, and then 3 skeins kind of in yardage, but held 6 held double. That's going to be plenty for a garment. And this is 74% suri, baby suri alpaca, and 26% silk. And these come in 50 grams, so there's 300 meters. So if I hold it double, that will give me 900 meters in yardage. But I think it should be fine, as long as because if I hold it double, I can have a looser gauge, and then it should be plenty. And again, this is so soft. Everything that I have touched from them is just so soft. And this color is stunning. I think my favorite part of the Azeria is the darker part of the yarn. And then, I was really happy with my purchases. And then I saw on Instagram, I think probably like a week or 2 weeks after I had ordered it, that they had put this colorway onto their fluff sock base that I made my Sarah sweater in. And I was like, oh, I really, really want that colorway on that base as well, but I've already bought the kind of suri alpaca one. I bought the sock weight one, and I can't really justify putting in another order, can I? But then this parcel arrived, and they had very generously gifted me 2 skeins of the fluff sock. And I had no idea, so this was a big surprise. But look! And I have to admit, the color on the fluff sock is stunning. This is a lot prettier in my eyes than, this is gorgeous too, but this dark rust. So I almost cried a little bit. So thank you so much. You made my day. So these 2 are the same as in the Zara sweater. It's the 38% baby alpaca, 25% merino, and 37% pima cotton. And it's 400 meters in each 100-gram skein and non-superwash, which is great. So I have 2 of this now, and I know that I managed to make that bigger sweater with 2.5 skeins. So I am thinking of making a cropped sweater, or maybe a long sleeve ranunculus in this yarn. And as soon as I saw this, that kind of bumped up on my list even over the yarn that I had bought with the plan, just because the color is so saturated and pretty. So yeah, I need to have a think about what pattern I'm going to use for it, but I'm loving the color. And this is even softer, so I need more hours in a day to knit all the things. And another gifted thing that they included in their parcel was this. And I didn't even know that they made bags, but this is a lovely kind of woven fabric with a woven flower print on the bottom. And it says Zakami X Rinature by Rinature. So it's a collaboration between Zakami and by Rinature's sewing technique. So every bag is unique, and it's made from upcycled vintage materials from the 1940s and 50s. And this one contains a military sheet, a rustic cotton tablecloth, and a curtain. All made by our ancestors, never thinking that our products will turn into a project bag. Oh, that's so nice. And Melinda and Gergely, do I say that right? they are the couple behind Zakami, and by Rinnature is Rita behind it, or Rita in an American pronunciation or English pronunciation, and it's just stunning. And yeah, and it has this inside. So this is beautiful. I am a big fan of using up vintage fabrics, scrap yarns, and kind of finding a lovely purpose to all the things that we have. So yeah, thank you so much. So that was all of the knitting and acquisitions that I have gotten last week and a half. And I think it's enough. I was a bit worried that I hadn't actually gotten a lot of knitting done, but casting on that cardigan that kind of flew off the needles, that kind of helped a little bit. So probably, I'm guessing, if I continue knitting on that, then by the next episode, it might already be done. I have the day off today, so maybe if I don't go hiking, I'll get quite a few hours in on that as well. What else has been happening? I've been working as usual. I haven't really done a lot. I was at the cabin. That's where I recorded the last episode. And I left the cabin. I brought home some of the jam that I foraged. I am working on drying up some plants because I have a lot of these here. These are the tagetes, is the Latin name, I think, of the plant. And you can use them for dyeing yarn. So I have no plans in the imminent future of dyeing yarn. I don't have any yarn to dye. I don't know where I would get my hands on that. But I am slowly drying up the flowers that I have. Every now and again I pick one or two and I leave them to dry so that if I get around to trying plant dyeing in the future, I have a little stash of those flowers to use. And I think they would give a yellowy, orangey color. So that would be interesting to see. I've also dried up some lavender. I have, let me show. I have little lavender plants both here and at the cabin. So it's gonna start going below -degrees soon. So I have been picking them and hanging them upside down with just some cotton yarn around to dry. Because lavender smells really nice. I think it looks cute. And insects don't like the smell of lavender, so it can keep bugs away, theoretically. So at the cabin I have 2 bundles of these hanging in my room because I do have some yarn stash there. And here at home I have lots of lavender sachets with dried lavender, both with my knitted garments and also in my yarn stash. And I also have like some scented lavender spray that I spray into the room every now and then just to make it an unfriendly smell for bugs because I don't want moths. Luckily we're now going into the colder season where moths aren't as big of a problem as in the summer. But so far so good, no moth infestation in this place. I did have a problem when I lived in Poland 2-3 years ago, so I'm terrified of it. So yeah, you can also use cedar wood. That's also a smell that they don't like. So I do have some cedar wood balls and rings in my stash and between my garments. Yeah. Other than that, I hope that you are well and that you're finding a lot of joy in knitting. I know we're going into sweater season, and I've heard on Instagram that a lot of people are finding their knitting mojo peaking. because it's getting towards cooler weather. And I hope that if you're in a warmer climate or at the other side of the world, like Australia, and you're going into your summer months, that you're still enjoying your knitting with some more summer-friendly yarns, and that maybe some of my previous episodes where I was knitting more on t-shirts and tops, that can have given some inspiration. And yeah, I'm not ready for summer to be over, but I am enjoying knitting, which definitely fits in better with the fall climate than the summer. But I'm really dreading the darker months. It gets really dark here, and it's just not fun waking up in the morning when it's pitch black outside, and then you go to work, it's pitch black, and then you might see like a little bit of daylight outside in the middle of the day, but by the time you go home, it's pitch black again, so you're kind of living in darkness for several months, and that can be a little bit depressing. And usually a lot of Norwegian people, at least in the past, when they had a break in the winter, they would fly down south, like Turkey, Greece, Spain, just to have a little bit more sun and daylight. And now with the pandemic, can't do that. So my boyfriend, he has some problems with sleep, so he has this lamp that gives daylight that's supposed to help him wake up if he hasn't had any sleep. So I've been using that. He doesn't use it, but I use it as an alarm in the morning, so that when I need to wake up, that kind of turns on the lights, so I get a fake sunrise to wake up to, and that helps a little bit. But I'm already looking forward to the winter solstice and then going towards the lighter days again. And I shouldn't complain because it's actually still pretty light out. There is light. I can see the sun still. But always having something to look forward to is nice. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, my tea is cold. My fingers are a bit cold. So I think I'm gonna call it a day, and I will see you soon. And if you have a project that you're looking forward to casting on, please comment below. I would love to hear about it. We're still running the stash along until the end of the year. I think I will draw the last prize before winter, before Christmas, just so that I can ship it out before Christmas. And then I'm thinking we could do another rustic knit along starting next year. So maybe you can keep that in mind if you have your eyes on some rustic natural yarns that are non-superwash, and like animal fibers like merino, wool, alpaca, mohair, anything like that. Then you can keep that in mind because we might be starting a cal again. And the stash along cal is super simple. If you haven't heard about it, just knit or make something with something that you've had in your stash before starting 2021. And you can put a photo of it on Instagram using the hashtag stashalong, or on our Ravelry group. I did draw the winner on Ravelry last time, so maybe the next prize will be drawn from Instagram, so keep that in mind. Yeah. And I think that's enough rambling for today. I'll put a little bit of footage at the end, and I will see you soon. Bye.